I'd like to call this meeting to order. Welcome to the Bloomington Rotary Club's weekly celebration of service for July 21st, 2020. I'm your current president, Ashley Sullivan. Thank you so much for being here. I'd like to introduce Sarah Laughlin, who's offering our reflection, but I don't see her, so I want to make sure she's here.
I'm here, Ashley.
Okay.
Great. And Sarah, I'm going to give you, do you want to share a screen? Is that you want to?
Yes, I do.
Okay, all over to you.
Thank you.
Are you able to do it?
Hold on, I think I've done it. Is
There we
it
go.
there?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Ashley asked me to give a reflection today about John Lewis, who, oops, here's Tina Pearson waiting to be admitted, who passed away last week, as I'm sure you all know. Sally Gaskell and I had the distinct privilege of co-chairing the Friends of the Library's Power of Words event in 2015. And John Lewis and his two co-authors were the speakers for that event. But it all started for John Lewis when he was a teenager, and he in rural Alabama, and he came across this comic book, Martin Luther King and the Montgomery Story, which told the story of, you know, the early civil rights efforts by Martin Luther King, and made John Lewis write Martin Luther King a letter. His parents had told him not to get in trouble, to stay out of trouble. And he decided after reading this comic book that he wanted to take action. So he was arrested in Jackson, Mississippi at age 21. After he had gone through nonviolence training and come up with the idea of nonviolent direct action. That was the strategy followed by the young people in the South who were trying to improve their condition. So he was arrested on the Freedom Rides. Here he is being loaded into a paddy wagon with the bandages on the back of his head from being beaten. I don't know how to just advance it.
Are you able to click on the actual PowerPoint presentation and then move it?
Oh, maybe. There we go. Oops, I went to, that's fine. The next slide was of him also protesting. But in March '65, a long line of Negro marchers, by this time he was president of the the Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and he led the walk across the bridge in Selma. That's him in the beige trench coat there. Just a few minutes before the state police bludgeoned him and he sustained a fractured skull. Here he is, just a few weeks ago, joining the Black Lives Matter protest in Washington, D.C. And of course, you know that in between that, he served as a congressman for more than 30 years from Georgia, and he won the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and he was instrumental in creating the African American Museum in Washington. Here he is being presented with the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Barack Obama in February 2011. But we met him because of this comic book that he wrote, actually now called a graphic novel. And it is a trilogy called March, book 1, 2, and 3 now. When he came to Bloomington, book 1 and 2 were published. And it is co-authored with Andrew Aden, who is his communications director in Washington, and Nate Powell is the illustrator who lives here in Bloomington. Some of you may know him. He's one of the best graphic novel illustrators in the world at the moment. Didn't know John Lewis or Andrew before that. Andrew Aden is a comic book fanatic who encouraged the congressman to make this format, to tell his story in this format in order to reach young people and excite them about the civil rights movement. So here's the poster from the event. We followed the strategy of read, discuss, meet, and act. We wanted people to read the book, to talk about the book, to meet the authors, and then we had a variety of ways to take action, one of which was to register to vote. And so at the event itself, we had the League of Women Voters present and encouraging people to register to vote. A strategy that has now been adopted by John, was then adopted by John Lewis for his succeeding visits. Here's Beverly Callender Anderson getting ready to introduce Lee Hamilton, and to her left is the union board representative. We moved the event to the IU auditorium because it was too big to fit in the Buzzkirk-Chumley, and these students were very involved and really learned a lot, I think, about event planning and also about the civil rights movement. Here's John on the stage, encouraging people to get in trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble, and Andrew and Nate standing by to give their parts of the talk. And this is my favorite picture of the event. This is John Lewis and Nate and Andrew in the green room before the event, meeting with Lee Hamilton. Lee and John had been very good friends in Congress for many, many years, and they were so happy to see each other. So just a closing thought, we were so blessed to have him in Bloomington. I know many of you were able to be there because so many of you contacted me since then and said you were thinking about him and sorely missing him. A quote from him: "Do not get lost in a sea of despair. Do not become bitter or hostile. Be hopeful, be optimistic. Never ever be afraid to make some noise and get in good trouble, necessary trouble. We will find a way to make a way out of no way." Words that I think have great resonance today. Rest in peace, John Lewis, we miss you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. There's a lot of information about the work that John Lewis had done across the course of his life that you can find. I would also recommend that you get in touch with Sandy Keller, who I had a wonderful conversation with yesterday. She has a lot of recorded information of John speaking about different issues, so she would be happy to share that with you as well. And she'll have a reflection coming up soon about that as well. Thank you. Now I would like to introduce our guests. So Jim Bright, would you introduce any visiting Rotarians you see and guests?
Yeah, thank you, birthday lady Ashley there. We're pleased to have with us today Marcus Devereaux. And Marcus, great to have you back with us. Marcus, as you may know, is the assistant principal at Bloomington High School North. And I hear through the grapevine you've applied for membership, Marcus, so we look forward to welcoming you aboard. Also, we have with us today some guest Rotarians, Carolyn Fry with the Sunrise Club. Welcome, Carolyn. And Beverly Teach, Brown County, immediate past president of Brown County. Also, it's good to see on the screen so many Rotary friends who we haven't seen in a while. It's great to see you all here. And I understand Becky Jesmer has a guest today. Becky?
Thank you so much. I'm excited to introduce my guest, Perry Black. For the last 16 years, Perry has served as the president and CEO of Youth First. In addition to her commitment to youth and families, Perry is also a fellow 3-year Rotarian of the Rotary Club of Evansville and a past Rotary Club member of Warwick County. So I just want to please join in and welcome Perry to our Rotary Lunch today.
And back to you, Ashley. Thank you. Thank you, Becky.
Thank you so much and welcome to everyone. So glad to have you here on this beautiful Tuesday. We have some housekeeping items. Thanks again, as always, to our producers, Alon Barker and Michael Shermis. And our roundabout reporter for this week is, again, Bill Perkins. Thank you for capturing these moments for us. We don't have any membership anniversaries today or Rotarians in the news that I could see. If anyone has any updates over the course of the week, please send me an email and they'll be included here in the announcements. We do have an interesting prospect for everyone. The Upper Arlington Rotary Club in Ohio is working with graduates of their sewing trade school in Guatemala to make Rotary masks. And they're for sale now. Our club would be willing to place an order to support this cause and to share Rotary with people in the community. So we have a donor that's actually willing to pick up the first 10 so that those first 10 masks will be donated to Teachers Warehouse. The funds will. If you're interested, let me know in the chat. If we have enough to place an order, we'll go ahead. You can, the funds can be added to your bill or you can send a check, but we can talk about that if we have enough interest to go forward with an order. The next announcement is that I'm very excited about is we're offering a new full membership opportunity to encourage greater participation in the club and to extend all of our benefits to families and to households. The board of directors has created a new membership program to encourage individual club members to add household members at half price. So existing individual members can now add a second household member at the half price, and an individual and additional family member could join at the same time. So they don't have to be an existing Rotarian to join. You can join as a household together. So we're looking forward to adding more members to this club that are under the same roof for a more equitable price. And we're inducting a new member under this new format next week. So come prepared to cheer on our new household member that will be joining the ranks. Thank you for the board for making this decision. And I think that we're gonna just add to this great club that we have. If you want more information about that for yourself or for a prospective member, you can contact Dave Meyer. He's the membership co-chair, and his contact info will be in the roundabout. Moving on to volunteering spotlight. So we're going to be offering at least one opportunity every month. We again have 3 opportunities this week. The Strawberry Festival still needs a few members to help on Thursday, which is the actual in-person day you can pick up. We need people to make strawberry shortcake kits and to make single servings, all very safe at the Switchyard Park Pavilion. If you want to volunteer, you'll be working with me because I'll be there all day. You can find the info in the last roundabout or just let me know. Helping Hands, I'd like to mention this again, is a nonprofit project to match volunteers with those who need help. Pharmacy delivery, grocery delivery, yard work, anything that people might need around the home that they're having trouble with finding the services during the pandemic. So you can be matched with someone who needs support, or if you yourself know somebody who needs something, you can sign up for this service. I just signed up, so I'll let you guys know how it goes after I get my first match. Looking forward to working with Civic Champs in that. They've already served a lot of folks in the community, so sign up for that. Teachers Warehouse is preparing to open and are still looking for volunteers Monday through Friday. So you can email volunteers@teacherswarehouse.org to sign up. And now, without further ado, I would like to have happy dollars. I'm sure we have lots of things to be happy about, and you can donate through the link in the chat to the PayPal so that those happy dollars can go directly to Teachers Warehouse. The first hand I see is Ron Barnes.
My happy dollar is for $16 for the 16 years that Teacher Warehouse has been in business, thanks to many members that really spawned out of our club, Teachers Warehouse, and continue to volunteer to keep this going. So 16 happy dollars for the warehouse.
Yay. Trent.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I'm very excited to donate 20 happy dollars to Teachers Warehouse. And in addition to the reason I'm so happy today, to my sleep out on Friday night to benefit the Shalom Community Center. I will yet again this year be sleeping outside, hot, cold, whatever it is. You never know, it's July. But I will be sleeping outside to benefit Shalom and all the work they do in this community. As I said in a Facebook post a second ago, we often get distracted with work, school, jobs, all these things. But if you're experiencing homelessness, there's no distraction from that. So I'll post in the link, a link to support me, and I would appreciate help, Rotarians. Thank you.
Thanks, Trent. Go ahead and speak up because I can't see everyone at once.
I have a happy dollar, or 17. I'm going to give 17 happy dollars for research interviews that involve John Lewis through my business at home over the years. One for every single memory that they involve. So 17.
Thank you, Sandy. Anyone else?
Yeah, this is Liz. Oh, sorry, Jim.
That's okay. Go ahead, Liz.
This is Liz. I just wanted to donate $5 happy dollars. And Sally Gaskell has agreed to sing a birthday tribute to you, Ashley. Our little chat group decided none of us had the skill to do it, so we've employed Sally to do that. Thank you, Sally.
But I accept only if Amy Osajima and Lynn Schwartzberg join me, or any other choral singers or non-choral singers. Everybody unmute. Here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear Ashley.
Happy birthday to you.
That was so wonderful, and it is forever captured on the recording.
So I would like to donate $20 to thank you for that being done.
I'll go.
This is Mike Baker. I'll give you 20 because I didn't have to sing.
You guys, I'm thinking about starting a Rotary choir. It might have to be virtual, but yeah.
Just long as Elaine leads it. I'd like to donate $10 or 10 happy dollars. I just think the Teachers Warehouse is so worthy of what we're able to do. But I want to thank Sarah for that wonderful reflection. John Lewis, early on, and I've had a lot of experiences, but he was one of the people
Seems like he might have gone for a bit. I think we're missing Jim.
Jim needs Smithville. Sorry.
Hopefully he'll come back.
I'm sure Jim will come back.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Ashley, it's Susie Graham. I'd like to donate $30 today. My chat group already knows about this, but it's in honor of my 30th wedding anniversary today.
Yay!
Congratulations.
Congrats.
This is Sally. I'd like to donate $20 to Teachers Warehouse to thank Sarah Laughlin for inviting me to be a part of the John Lewis event that we held in 2015. It was one of the highlights of my life, honestly. And, you know, obviously we've all been sad the last few days, but also just always inspired by the man. Thank you, Sarah.
Am I back?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. My wife and I both work at home, and you can imagine I won't even mention the internet provider we've got, but we have some issues with that. But what I was saying earlier, I followed John Lewis for a lot of years, and he talked about having skin in the game. And that just simply means to participate, to cause good trouble. So one of my early examples, But one of the real reasons I'd like to donate today is that, and I don't know if many of you know this, John Lewis happens to be my fraternity brother, or our fraternity brothers. We're members of Phi Beta Sigma, and that is a historically Black fraternity, and part of the historically Black fraternity and sorority group we call the Panhellenic Council. The 9 that started are called affectionately the Divine 9. So I am proud to have that association with Brother John Lewis as well. So, and lastly, I hope we're keeping track of the happy dollars, in particular that Jim donates, so that it's either on the bill, or I can mail it, or I can get it to where it needs to go. And I've not been keeping track of myself. I don't think it's been $5,000 worth, but I like to take care of what I've committed to. So thank you all very much. And thanks again, Sarah. Very moving reflection.
Thank you, Jim. And remember, if you want to donate, you can click on the PayPal link in the chat as well to catch up. Okay, any other happy dollars?
$20 in recognition of my wife, Ann, as a Teachers Warehouse volunteer. She unpackaged and boxed up 1,000 pink erasers this week.
And regular work right now.
Oh.
I think I'll up my ante to 20 because everybody's making me look like a piker with my 16 bucks.
We might have to keep track of today. We've had a record haul, I think. Thank you, everyone, for supporting the Teachers Warehouse, and we all know how important the work is there. So what we can give is very important. And I don't know if everybody saw, but Gabe Coleman did a birthday fundraiser for the Teachers Warehouse. It was Gabe, right? Anyone can confirm that? They raised over $3,000. So just for a fun birthday fundraiser. So hurrah. People really support this cause, and it's so worthy. So thank you for continuing to give every week.
And bring your checkbook next week. Ashley has allowed me to talk about the supply drive next week. And bring your checkbook.
Yes, please do. I saw Marcus Debro had his hand raised.
Yes, I'd like to match Jim Sims today. That was a very moving presentation by Sarah. Obviously, I don't want to match Jim his last 3 or 4 months of $5,000 donation, but the $10 I will match that today.
Thank you, Marcus.
Ashley?
Yes?
This is Kate. I just wanted to say, as a follow-up to Teachers Warehouse, they just finished their practice run yesterday for the COVID-19 process for the Blitz. Went really, really well. Got a few little things to tinker with, but it's very exciting. They're managing to do this safely and in a measured way, and so we can be really, really proud of the folks who are carrying that out at Teachers Warehouse.
Thank you so much for the update. That's great. Okay, I think that's all happy dollars today. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. That's such a highlight of our meetings. Next up, I would like to welcome Jim Shea to introduce our speaker.
Thanks, Ashley. I am delighted to welcome back to our Rotary Club, Tina Peterson. Tina is the president and CEO of the Community Foundation of Monroe County. She is also the president and CEO of Regional Opportunities Initiatives, and she collaborates with organizations to advance economic opportunities in an 11-county region around Bloomington. I added up the list of her boards that she's on, and it happens to be 11 boards, which is a little mind-boggling, including Dimension Mill, BEDC, and the Bloomington Chamber. Tina and her husband, wonderful husband, Dan, are parents of 4 young adults. And Tina is one of the people, you meet a few people in life when you remember the first time you met them. And Tina is one of those people for me. I remember the first time I met Tina, and I felt immediately connected to her. And I think that connection you can see in what I just read. The foundation, the Regional Opportunities Initiative, the 11 boards. So I'm not the only one who has felt connected to Tina, and we're lucky to have Tina connecting lots of people around our region. There are movers and shakers in Bloomington, and then there are movers and shakers. And I would put Tina as a mover and shaker. So Tina, thanks for making time today, and let's give her a nice Rotary welcome.
Well, thank you, Jim. I really appreciate that introduction. In fact, maybe that's the nicest introduction I've ever received, although I don't think there's any way I can possibly live up to that. But thank you. I'm really grateful to be here today, and thank you for making it happen. I know we've been trying to find a date for a while, and I'm just thrilled that this one worked. You know, the Community Foundation is really proud to be part of Rotary and to have joined the Bloomington Rotary Club as one of its first organizational members. So thanks for letting us be part of the family, so to speak. I appreciate the opportunity as well to talk about the Community Foundation. It's an organization I've been with now for 9 years after spending 10 years at the Public School Foundation at Monroe County Schools previously. Today, I really want to start by telling you something that may seem obvious, but you know, if you know one community foundation, you know one community foundation, right? While there are many similarities between the 700 community foundations in the United States, and especially the 94 in Indiana, no two are really alike. By their very nature, community foundations are reflective of the communities they serve. The Community Foundation in Bloomington and Monroe County has a story to tell, one that's 30 years old now, but it's not really our own story, so to speak. Rather, it's a story that's been written by, shaped by really the many different individuals, families, and organizations who have gifted funds to the Community Foundations over the years. Thank you for the slide. It's no surprise that by looking at the Community Foundation, you can really begin to understand the story of our community and those who very passionately support it. Next slide, please. So I thought today we might look at the Community Foundation and see what it does tell us about our community. First and foremost, we are very generous and we care deeply about others. 252 unique funds have been created at the Community Foundation by 5,706 donors over the last 30 years, just to be exact. Each of these funds was established for a very particular purpose and with specific intent for how the community should benefit. The vast majority of these gifts over the years have come from individuals and their families, people just like you and me. However, our elected, civic, and corporate leaders in Monroe County also believe in the integral role that charity can play in a community. They are personally and professionally and civically generous. Former mayors Mark Cruzan and Allison established funds at the Community Foundation. John Fernandez served on the board. Mayor Hamilton currently works with us to advance strategies for innovative charitable capital. Vi Simpson, former minority leader of the Indiana Senate, serves on our board and is a regular donor and has a charitable fund. And everybody's favorite, Charlotte Zitlow, has always been a good friend to the Community Foundation. Judges Najim and Talaferro both set up funds at the Community Foundation and served on our boards. Iris Kiesling and Joyce Poling, county commissioners, helped establish multiple funds with us, like those for the Community Center, the Community Justice and Mediation Center, the Alexander War Memorial, the History Center, Boys and Girls Club, and so many more. In fact, we manage charitable funds for local government entities. The Monroe County Building Preservation Fund, the Youth Services Bureau Fund, a Housing Trust Fund endowment, the Bloomington Parks and Recreation Fund, a fund for Ellettsville Main Street, the Monroe County Access to Recreation Fund for the county. And in addition, our local corporate leaders have a long history of giving too. Cook, Monroe Bank, ONB, Cardon, German American First Financial, TIS are just a few who have given regularly and have often established funds at the Community Foundation. And no one's quite like Smithville. We've mentioned them a couple of times today, a couple of reasons. They have multiple, I think maybe 4 or 5 funds at the Community Foundation, and make a big gift every year to allow us to increase our impact giving. From IU and Ivy Tech, Lori and Michael McRobbie, Ken Gross-Lewis, our good friend, and Ivy Tech Chancellor Jenny Vaughn, all served on our board and all have funds at the Community Foundation. Leading families like the Browns, the Currys, the Fells, the Barkers, the Wests, and Tishners, names we've always heard, have all worked with the Community Foundation to advance their personal charitable priorities. And Dr. Hadawi, who I know is with us today, he established that very first fund for volunteers in medicine, today HealthNet. And we have to talk about Rotary District Governor Jessica Hain. She's on our board. She's on 2 committees. She chairs one, and she and Brian have a fund, a family fund with the Community Foundation. Looking at the Community Foundation, you can also see what this community values. Next slide, please. We value many things, but 1/4 of all of our granting over the years has gone to support education and learning. But we clearly also care about individuals and families, the arts, animals, health and recreation, youth development, the environment, and so much more. Next slide. We've also learned through our donors that this community is not patient when it comes to community needs. The example I will give is the fact that we were not satisfied as a community to wait for the state to activate pre-K education. We were certainly not satisfied that Indiana was one of only 8 states without state-funded pre-K. So what did this community do? We took it into our own hands, and we raised over $1 million to ensure that kids can thrive by 5. And many donors created funds specifically to support children and early learning. Bloomington and Monroe County also values its nonprofit partners and organizations. Donors have helped create sustaining funds for more than 89 nonprofits in our community, and those funds total $20 million. Some of the biggest are for Sycamore Land Trust, HealthNet/VIM, Lotus, Boys and Girls Club, and Macam. Our story, of course, I don't have to tell you, is also one of service. Bloomington Rotary and Sunrise Rotary both have funds with us, as do the Kiwanis. Next slide. We like to give together as well as a community. Our giving circles, 100+ women who care and 50 men who care, have created incredible impact in this community in their short histories. And the women are about to surpass $1 million in giving to local nonprofits over their 9-year history. We also care about our communities tomorrow, and we are proud to say that we have $16.4 million committed to the Community Foundation in future gifts from people's planned giving and estates. Next slide. We also really have vision in this community, and one of the ways that you can see that is through the 219 endowed funds that we have created for the benefit of our communities today and tomorrow. These funds, of course, are given to us. We never use those gifts. We invest them, and we use those proceeds as the funds grow to support our community each and every year. However, we also have organizations that ask us to help them with their everyday needs. CASA has an endowment for their current needs. There is a charitable checkbook option that we offer to donors that just want us to help them give to many different organizations. And of course, we help those that are raising money, like those trying to restore the Alexander War Memorial. Further, by looking at the donors to the Community Foundation, we know that this community is one that trusts. They have been increasing their unrestricted giving for years now, and those funds allow us to grant, to be responsive to the community when needed. In the last 2 rounds of what we call Gift 6 and Gift 7, matching dollars provided by the Lilly Endowment, this community helped us raise $4.5 million for impact granting that will be sustained every year forever. And finally, we support innovation as a community, and we'll talk more about that later. So really what I'd like to say is our community has written a story of generosity, of compassion, and of determination through its work. with and its giving to the Community Foundation. And they have given us the ability over the years to pivot and to evolve, to be flexible and responsive to the needs and opportunities in our community. Next slide, please. Traditionally, there are 4 consistent roles for community foundations. Number 1, we support donors by making philanthropy achievable. We support nonprofits in growing their capacity to fulfill their mission through financial support, fund management, and technical assistance, like our work with the Nonprofit Alliance, a partnership with the Community Foundation United Way in the city of Bloomington. We make grants to address pressing needs and compelling opportunities through flexible funds and distributions from our many funds. And we provide leadership. Our role and the expectation is that we can convene and catalyze around timely issues of community relevance, often serving as a caring but neutral convener, like the role we played last year in helping the community create a quality of place and workforce attraction plan. Next slide. Consistently, since our very beginning, the Community Foundation has supported Monroe County through thoughtful, aligned grant making. We, in fact, have awarded over $30 million in grants to over 400 organizations since 1990 when we first began. Next slide. We do this through competitive grant making, grants from donor advised funds, from direct distributions from agencies and designated funds, and through proactive grants directed to meet emerging needs and opportunities as they arise. Next slide. Recent examples include the Community Plaza at Switchyard Park, transitional housing for women in recovery, and our largest to date, a grant to support the Stride Center, a new 24-hour crisis diversion center for Monroe County to support those with substance use disorders and those with mental health challenges particularly. The ribbon cutting was just yesterday, and this center will be a game changer when it opens in August, a game changer for our community, but especially for those experiencing difficulty in their lives. Next slide. Over the years, the community and our donors have allowed us to grow into a more catalytic role. At times, this includes incubating new programs or new organizations. Years ago, actually right before I started at the Community Foundation and United Way worked together to establish an early learning coalition in Monroe County. Today, the program that grew out of that work, Monroe Smart Start, is housed within the Community Foundation and is now one of the most comprehensive community efforts in the state to increase access to early learning, to improve the quality of early learning sites, to empower parents to support their early learners, and to grow the early learning workforce, a big challenge for us. Recently, Monroe Smart Start has been active in COVID-19 to support parents and employers in finding safe sites for childcare during the pandemic. Regional opportunity initiatives, which Jim referenced a few minutes ago in my introduction, is another example of a program that we have developed a deep relationship with. It's a 501c3 housed within the Community Foundation as a supporting organization. ROI is now in its 5th year. It's deploying $26 million in funding from the Lilly Endowment to advance economic and community prosperity in the 11 counties we call the Indiana Uplands. We do this by focusing on the possibilities that advanced manufacturing, life sciences, and defense bring to this region, and through a host of programs to advance innovation and education, to create a STEM ecosystem, to address housing and broadband and quality of place, among other things. In June, ROI committed $1.6 million to Monroe County and RBB schools to implement programs that will ensure their students are engaged in learning that prepares them for the jobs of tomorrow right here in our region. We need to keep more of our folks right here at home. CDFI Friendly Bloomington is a new nonprofit currently being incubated by the Community Foundation. Its mission is to bring creative, accessible, and equitable capital to our community and region to address affordable housing, community facility needs, and to support emerging small businesses. It's the first organization of its type in the United States, working to attract investments in our community from community development finance organizations from around the county. That's not true either. It's from around the country. CDFIs tend to be located only in urban areas, and through CDFI Friendly Bloomington, we want to attract their dollars and their support to small urban and metro areas and to rural parts of the state. Their role is really to change the landscape for organizations that create good in our community by offering capital that's not available through traditional lending sources. And those of you that might not be familiar with CDFIs may not know that they came originally in the early 1900s as institutions in the South to support loan making and giving to support primarily Black individuals and businesses. And then looking at the next slide, what's up next for the Community Foundation? A couple of things. First, we're focusing now on an initiative we call place-based impact investing. We're launching a strategy that will allow the Community Foundation to use its asset allocation strategies, so portfolio management strategies, to generate positive social impact alongside a financial return. It's really a new and emerging strategy in the Community Foundation world. By deploying impact investing, we'll be able to increase the amount of dollars the foundation has to support local needs and opportunities. We will offer donors a new way to support their community, and we'll address needs and opportunities that require something other than a grant. Perhaps a loan or a loan guarantee would be an example. Additionally, like everyone else, we've been very focused on COVID-19 and how we as a community respond. Thus far, we've invested about $275,000 to support COVID-19 related needs. We have additional funds that we're ready to deploy in the coming months. So far, we've had 3 rounds of rapid response grants, and we've given those grants to 56 nonprofits who just needed a host of things to sustain their work during this time or to accelerate their responsibilities in serving populations that need them. We've worked with our partners, we've repurposed grants, we've asked our donor advisors to give, we've loaned out technology platforms, and we're partnering with the United Way and Bloomington Health Foundation on emergency grants and strategies to meet essential needs around food, shelter, childcare, health, and personal safety. We've learned a lot, and one of the things that we've learned that I know many of you are probably aware of as well is one of our emerging and growing challenges is going to be around mental health and supporting those with behavioral health challenges. And of course, so grateful for Sarah's comments at the beginning of our meeting today. We, like everyone else, we are thinking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we're using both an internal and an external lens. We're asking questions. How can we be better as an organization? How do we need to support the community in being more diverse, equitable, and inclusive? How do we respond to what we heard and learned last year in Monroe County's Quality Place and Workforce Attraction Planning process? It told us that a disconnect exists between our public branding as an inclusive community and the lived experiences of many people here. What do we wish to be? What can we wish to be so that the reality from people of color in our community is more what we have always hoped and expected it should be? We as a Community Foundation are so fortunate to be in a community that welcomes change and supports evolution. If the Community Foundation is doing our job well, you will always see the reflection of our community, of your face even, when you look at the work of the Community Foundation. We strive to mirror the passionate, charitable priorities of our community, and we do so by working hard to create a positive impact and by fueling innovation and lasting impact. We strive to make philanthropy achievable, to help people achieve their charitable goals, no matter how much money or resources they have to commit to it. And we work to collaborate so as to create more significant outcomes for our community and for all who call Monroe County home. I want to thank everybody today for allowing us to be with you to share this story. And I want to thank you for all the good that you create here at home and beyond in Monroe County.
Thank you so much, Tina. Wonderful presentation. I'm sure there's so much to share that we don't have time to touch on today. In honor of your presentation today, we'll be giving a donation to Teachers Warehouse. And if you would have a few moments to stay after to answer any additional questions after we close the meeting, are you able to do that?
I am.
Thanks. So we'll open up to questions now. Anyone? Jim?
Okay, let me unmute and hope my internet holds up. Hi, Tina. Thank you for that presentation.
Jim.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You talked about CDFI Friendly, which is a new financial concept, bringing equity and inclusion, I think. And it's a long process, needing the investors, some investment from the community, and someone to nurture it so that it could bear fruit later on. And I don't think many people knew that it started, as you mentioned, in the early 1990s down in the South in order to bring equity, financial equity to mainly Black and brown communities. So not so much a question, but I just want to commend you and all the work that we've been doing, and particularly through this pandemic with all the other organizations. Another thing that makes me proud to live in a town like Bloomington. So thank you. I guess that was a question somewhere in there, huh? Thank you. Thank you for being here today. We appreciate it.
Thank you. You know, and I really should just take a moment to thank Brian Payne, who is the executive director of CDFI Friendly Bloomington. He is really working so closely with many in the community. I mean, a couple of investments have now, even though it's a very young organization, have been realized because of the work of CDFI Friendly Bloomington, bringing people and funders together. So one was, I'm just going to space on the name, Kinzer Flats, right? And also the housing conversion project for the Bloomington Housing Authority. And there's many others in the works. We're excited about what possibilities it brings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have one question. I'd be curious to know how you cooperate, if that's the word, with United Way.
Yeah. I'm sorry, did I interrupt you or are you finished?
I'm finished.
Okay, I'm sorry, thank you. Yeah, you know, we have a great working partnership with United Way, and we always have, you know, while we share a commitment to the community, right, we each have a role to play in really advancing what I think of as opportunity and prosperity in our region. And so I'm a huge fan of AFROT. We have, as I said, developed some programs together. We co-fund some programs. Currently, I think a great example is the work that we've been doing since the pandemic, where we've come together to really jointly address challenges through both grant making, but also convening and engagement around some of our most pressing needs. I would say we have a great working relationship. I know that at times some people have thought perhaps our organizations are competitive, and I just don't see that in any way. I think we are just really great partners. We also hold a fund for United Way, by the way. I should have mentioned that earlier.
I have a question.
Hi, Charlotte.
Is there a board or something for the CDFI or a website to find that out, who's doing what?
Yes, there is a website, and Megan, Niece is on this call. Megan, can you put that website in chat for us? Yep. Yeah, Charlotte, there is a board of directors. It has its own board of directors right now. On that board, I have the pleasure of serving as the president of that board. Also on that board is Mayor Hamilton, representatives from the city, from Old National Bank, from First Financial Bank, and Bloomington Urban Enterprise Association. And all of those organizations in one way or another have committed funds to stand up the organization and to make loan dollars available as needed to complement what CDFIs are doing in our community. And so we are a growing organization, but certainly in the startup phase.
Yeah, that's interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Any other questions? Okay, well, if anything comes to mind, let us know. Tina will be here for a few minutes and we can discuss after we close the meeting. Thank you for being here today.
I do have something to say.
Charlotte, go ahead.
Way back in the late, when was it? The late 80s? Yeah, it was the late 80s. It's when the Community Foundation was created. And I was director of United Way at the time, and the big question was, are these competitive? And we decided, we realized they serve totally different functions, actually. They're operated differently, and they approach the community in different ways. And the foundation it's just, they're just different, but they're complementary. And so there was a lot of concern at that time, right, Tina?
Yes, absolutely, Charlotte. But I think we've gotten over that, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think it took too long.
It didn't. I don't think so.
Thank you. Now Sally Gaskell will introduce next week's program.
Ooh.
Next week on July 28th, our speaker will be Sherry Mitchell-Brucker of Friends of Lake Monroe, and she'll be talking about building a plan for Lake Monroe. So stay tuned. That should be great.
Good.
Sally. So now we're going to close the meeting by reciting the four-way test together. You pull up the graphic. We can see that there.
One second here, sorry.
That's fine. Nice mask, Jim Bright. The ones we have up for that we're going to place an order for don't look exactly like that, but we'll put a picture in the roundabout so you can see what they look like. Okay, the four-way test. Of the
Things we think, say, and do.
First,
Is it the truth?
Second,
is it fair to all concerned?
Third,
will it be will their friendships?
Fourth,
or will it be beneficial to all concerned? And fifth, is it fun?
Okay, good meeting.
Thank you.
That concludes our meeting today. Thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you all. It was great.
Happy birthday, Ashley.
Happy birthday. Everybody stay safe.
Very great.
Happy birthday.
Wash your hands.
Birthday.
Wash your hands. Thanks, Charlotte.